Yes, sir.
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fish and Grits, the podcast. This is episode 26. 26. Today is November 10th, 2020. We're all one day older and one day uglier. But lucky for you, this is a podcast and you can't see us unless you watch us on YouTube. Then you actually see how handsome we are. So in the spirit of 2020, we actually had a pretty decent break there from terrible things. Well, a slew of terrible things. They were still sprinkled in here and there, but since the election has since come and gone, 2020 had to kick it back into high gear, and we lost a TV icon, a TV legend, a GOAT in the TV realm. We lost Alex Trebek at the age of 80 to colon cancer, correct? Or prostate?
No, it was pancreas cancer.
Pancreas cancer, that's what it was. I knew it was one of the bad ones.
I think pancreas is like the worst and most painful.
Yeah, it's one of the worst ones that people suffer for a long, because it's not quick. That's the problem with that one. I used to watch Jeopardy all the time with my grandparents and my parents. That was a staple in our. It was that and Wheel of Fortune. I think most of us of our generation grew up on, with our parents watching that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just kind of a calming presence. Even as a child, he just made you feel at ease. Do y'all have some Trebek memories that y'all want to share? I know where Mike is going to go with his.
I mean, Trebek. I mean, that might have been maybe just a smidge too young for that, but I definitely remember it always being on. I always looked at Wheel of Fortune as the like boombastic, exciting show, and then Jeopardy was always the with the light with the blue, yeah, with the blue, and it was like you said, real calming. Real it was like real adult.
I mean, it is. It was anyone that was a child watching it. They were like, I have no idea what any of this is.
Right. But I know, he will be missed for sure. I know they were like polling. They were like 70% of people who watched Jeopardy before he passed. They were like, if they ever replaced him, they would stop watching. But I do want to say that it's because we lost Sean Connery 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that, one of the claims of those two that sort of reinvigorated their personalities was that whole skit on SNL with Sean Connery and Alex Trebek.
Suck it, Trebek. Suck it hard.
I think anybody who watched SNL and Jeopardy, that was so well done. Celebrity Jeopardy is one of the best skits from SNL. Micah, before I let you go, I'm gonna say my favorite memory is Trebek's snarkiness when people would get the easy ones wrong, or like when he would bring people on that were like just like super nerds, and then they would have a sports category, and they would just sit there like, he's like, it's the option, you idiot.
Yeah.
So as he got older, he definitely got a little more comfortable with that. But that was my favorite thing. Like, he was polite, but he also was not afraid to call you a dumbass.
Yeah.
Micah, what's yours?
Oh man. Like I'm like you, my parents and my grandmothers and stuff watched a lot of Jeopardy coming up. And it's one of the reasons I have such a passion for trivia. So, it was, sitting there as a child and even a teenager trying to answer those questions. Half of the stuff was like, I ain't never heard of that movie. Just I don't know what the topic is about, but whatever. Just shoot from the hip. Let's go. see what I can get. But I mean, that was one of my biggest. He influenced me a lot as far as like, I love doing trivia. So,
yeah,
Jeopardy was always very hard. Like,
You
Compared to
know,
all the other shows, Jeopardy was very difficult.
Jeopardy is extremely difficult. Like, it's not common knowledge
Yeah.
by any means. It's those the learned crowd,
Yeah.
the people who have gone the formal education route and done lots of reading, done lots of studying, and things like that. And if you're good at Jeopardy, you're an intelligent person, a very intelligent person. Like, watching my parents do it, I'm like, how do y'all know all this?
All right.
Well, the funny thing is, and it's like when they have like the nerdiest of nerds up there, like these like just brilliant people, they often throw a curveball and do like a sports category
Mhm.
just because they know these folks know like all of this non-common knowledge, literature and scientific stuff. They probably know that. So let's change it up and really like separate the real like savvy ones and throw in like a sports category, something that's not usual. So and that was one thing I definitely liked about that show.
Yeah, they definitely spread it around. But Alex Trebek saved Jeopardy, and Jeopardy saved Alex Trebek because they were both struggling for the longest time. Because Alex was just kind of, people knew him, like, oh yeah, I remember him from that show that didn't make it. But he
What
was
did he do before Jeopardy?
What was the name of it?
I'm about to look up his IMDb.
I'll look it up, or you can look it up now and throw it in later. But it was one of those shows you're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. But it only went like 2 seasons. It didn't get picked up. Then he did another show. It went like 1 season. It got canceled. But when he got offered Jeopardy, Jeopardy was not doing well, and he literally revitalized it and made it into the juggernaut that it is today. But yeah, so rest in peace, Alex Trebek, and also rest in peace, Sean Connery.
Yeah, they died almost a week apart. It was Sean Connery died on Halloween, and Alex Trebek died on the 8th of November.
He was honestly one of my favorite actors. He and Tommy Lee Jones. I loved them both. Well, Tommy Lee Jones is still around.
He's still here.
Yeah,
like he just doesn't do much anymore. So I kind of speak of him in the past tense.
Well, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen ended Sean Connery's career. It was so bad.
The throat cancer did, but
but he lost interest in acting after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, that was an awful movie.
But Finding Forrester was a really good movie, and
that's an excellent movie. I love that movie.
Which is funny because Rob Brown went in for a extra position and wound up getting the lead role in that movie.
You know what? I'm not gonna. I just felt I got a question, and I don't want it to be our lightning round question, but I know most of us, if not all of us, will say Sean Connery is the best James Bond. Who is your second favorite James Bond? And I know you grew up in a James Bond family, Marco.
Who's my second favorite James Bond?
He's gonna say George Lazenby.
I was not gonna say that. I could guarantee.
And kicked off the podcast.
Just in terms of, I mean, I liked Pierce Brosnan more just in terms of who he was, but in terms of better movies, Roger Moore had the second best movies in terms, like he had the second best catalog. But I liked Pierce Brosnan just as a person more. Probably the second best. Even Timothy Dalton, I sort of liked him as a person more than Roger Moore, but Roger Moore just had better movies. But Roger Moore had some stinkers too. Like
Roger Moore was a stick to me.
He was, man.
I didn't like Roger Moore at all.
But he had some good movies. Like Live and Let Die is a classic. Moonraker is a classic. The Spy Who Loved Me is a classic.
What about you, Micah? Who's your second favorite?
I mean, I've seen most of them. I haven't seen all the Bonds, so I've never been just like a massive Bond fan. So, I mean, most of the ones who I've really liked, and a lot of it has to do with just modern day, production.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Craig. I mean, I think, now granted, I mean, personality wise, he's okay as a Bond. but it's just the overall movies were more entertaining to me. But
Well, I agree with you. I think Daniel Craig. I often argue that Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond, just because. And don't look at him in the light of what Bond was from like Sean Connery, because Sean Connery definitely is James Bond.
yeah,
Personality wise, his suaveness and the way he carried himself, he is James Bond. But I like Daniel Craig because it's pre 007. It's an agent learning how to become 007, how to become James Bond. Because first he had to learn how to, become a 00, and he was quick on his feet, reactionary. He was all about how to do it the smash and dash type of Bond type of way, instead of doing it the smooth sneak in the back door and not have to kill as many people. Instead, he's going to take a bulldozer through the middle of the city and get the guy if he absolutely has to.
But for Daniel Craig, wasn't just the first one a prequel, and the rest of them, or were they all supposed to predate?
I think they're all supposed to be the lead up. I
remember M died or something.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think. Yeah, so I guess not. But I mean, he definitely does get a little bit more gritty, and sure. It's a difference. It's a darker side of the Bond, and I tend to like those type of movies more. Like I like the Sin City style, the grittiness, the whole.
The funny thing about Daniel Craig Bond though is that man fell in love so many times. It's just like, dude, what are you doing?
No, but that's true. Pretty. To the book. That's true to the book. Because even George Lazenby's whole movie is about him getting married and then his bride getting killed. So Bond fell in love a lot more, than we traditionally, consider.
It's like Jason Bourne. He falls in love every movie, and his woman gets killed literally every movie.
You can't tie those super agents down. If they get married, they're going to fall out of the game. Then what's your movie about? So they got to kill their love interest.
It's a good trope.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All right, so we won't cover too much of this, just because I'm sure all of you are aware of what's going on. But the election's final, and the Trump side is trying to now play the card that since when does the media call the election? Well, always, Trump. Always. Every single one. The AP is the one that calls it. And if you don't know what the AP is, that's the Associated Press. And if you don't know what the press is, they're the media. So they're trying to fight it and trying to act like he didn't lose, even though they're still counting votes and he's still falling further and further behind. One of you mentioned something about Biden, if you want to bring that up.
Well, so Trump is, of course, his main course of action with his lawsuits is to stop Pennsylvania from counting, pretty much. So apparently Joe Biden, this is just a thing I saw on Instagram, so don't take this as gospel, but apparently he might pursue some legal action in order to take the presidency early. Because of Trump's incompetence
and his disgrace to the office.
Yeah, his absolute disgrace to America, and the petulance and bitterness he is bound to continue to carry, against all the states who didn't vote for him until he's kicked out of there.
There was something I was watching. What is her name? Trump's press lady. She's the blonde.
Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah, so she had a press conference the other day, I believe it was Monday, where she got up there and she started saying that everything was illegitimate and calling levying all these accusations of fraud, as the entire office has been doing, which is illegal to do in her position, to say those type of things about the voting system without proof. And Fox was airing it, and I cannot remember his name at the moment, but he's been one of the guys that's been on Fox. It's been reasonable. He's often called out Trump's things and some of the things that he's said. But look, this isn't true. Here's actually the truth. Don't take hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
That's the one. Don't take that because it will kill you. especially when you don't need it. I don't know. There's like party going on in my living room all of a sudden. I'll edit this. Turn off the living room. Okay. So my Sonos just decided to start playing rock and roll music.
Some Dave Grohl.
Anyway, it was Delirium by Lacuna Coil. Anyway, he was saying don't take hydroxychloroquine because it will kill you. And, you know, she was up there and she started saying all these things. And he goes, actually, whoa, and cut it. Literally pulled back from the feed. He's like, look, she's saying some pretty crazy things. It's not backed by facts. If she does start saying things that are factual, we'll take you back out to the interview. And of course, they never went back to it.
I saw that on the Instagram.
So I mean, you know, granted, he's been someone that's been doing that, but I feel like even Fox is like, look, man, this is crazy. Like we can't keep doing this with you. This is we're not gonna tie your anchor to our feet.
Well, it depends.
It does. Who depends who's up there for sure.
Yeah, because Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, they're
idiots
riding that coattail. They are dragging right along with them.
They're on the fraud train.
Man,
it looks so kooky. Oh my gosh!
You know, it's so disappointing for Sean Hannity because as a young man, a young child, not even man, when I would stay the summers at my grandparents, they would listen to Rush Limbaugh. And this was before Rush Limbaugh was like super, super right. This was when he was just getting big and, you know, he would give both sides, but he was definitely right leaning. And Sean Hannity would fill in for Rush Limbaugh sometimes. And this was like at the very beginning of Sean Hannity's careers. And he would give both sides of it. And then I guess he saw a niche and just jumped into it. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be super intolerant and say all these types of crazy things because he was a good reporter at first. But, I mean, he's now one of the most awful. Like, he and Tucker Carlson are just awful.
Yeah, he's just a caricature for
literally, that's all it is.
Yeah, for Republican, like,
extremists, radicals.
Extremism, yes. Yeah. Like, just like what all the crazy stuff that they spew and spout, he just, like, comes up. It's like all this fraud stuff is really like laugh worthy because it's the same exact stuff that the Democrats were accusing the Republicans were accusing the Democrats of doing in 2016. They're like, oh, y'all are such babies, just accept the law, blah blah blah, and then they turn around and they're doing it, but even worse. Like they're 10 times as bad as any, because no one was really complaining that, you know, about Trump winning legitimately. You know what I mean? They were just saying it was influenced.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here's the big difference too. And for those of you that don't know, I work in IT. IT security is like one of my things that I do. In 2016, there were servers that they found footprints from Russian computers being inside of. They could trace it. Like, look, yes, they were definitely in these servers. We don't know what they did, but we can tell you that they were in these servers. They were in the Democratic National Convention's servers, Russian IPs, all throughout them. Now, they couldn't prove it, so they just let it go. They couldn't prove that they did anything malicious. It would have taken months and millions of dollars to actually say, okay, here's exactly what they did. And even then, it's a crapshoot because these aren't just, you know, Russian teenagers in their basement. Like, this is the KGB. This is propagandists. They're doing these things. These are trained agents. These are the equivalent of the CIA in your servers. You might find them, but you're not going to find out what they did. They had that back then. Now you have this loudmouth 78-year-old going, fraud, fraud, fraud. And they're like, well, where? And they're like, well, that one dead person in Michigan. And then like these 5 people over here. And these like, you know, 100 people over here. It's like, okay, but you still lost by 4 million.
Right.
Yeah. Like
the margin of error has never been big enough to account for that.
There's even
a couple
cases
thousand
of fraud in Trump's behalf in this election and in 2016.
But here's the thing, like they talked about I forgot which station I was watching, and they talked about the Al Gore trying to asking for recounts in the 2000 election.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, but the problem was like you were behind. So even in the recount, even in the situation of recounts, unless there's a huge discrepancy, like if there's a huge discrepancy, it's no point of if it's close, like within a tenth or 2/10 of a point, then maybe it might make a difference, a couple hundred votes. But when you're at least 12 to 15,000 votes behind, you're not going to get the results that, like, you're not going to get the swing in results that you expect. And this is like you're wasting time,
resources.
Exactly. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's like this is so I was asked what makes Trump a bad president, and this is one of the perfect examples.
How long do you have?
but I mean, this is one of the perfect examples, because every other president was willing to put all differences aside because for the good of the nation. With him,
and not their ego.
It's not even about the nation. The nation doesn't matter. It's just him. I don't care. So the fact that the Republicans did better in Congress, and so like voted Republican, they just didn't vote for him.
Exactly.
But he's trying to portray it as no, it's got to be fraud because I didn't win the election. I should have won the election. No.
You gained seats in the Senate. Like, shut up.
Right.
Exactly.
Like how could they fix one thing and then not fix the other?
Exactly.
And at the same time, if a lot of these votes are illegitimate, then I mean he got 70 million votes. So at the same time, it's like, are we trying to say that some of those didn't count too? It's like,
no,
it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
He's only going to say the places that were majorly minority influenced, i.e. Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta. He's going to be like, those are the places where there was fraud. He didn't say anything about all the other states like Texas where he won, Oklahoma where he won. That's the thing. But, we could do a whole podcast on this. Let's not dive too much into this. Let's actually cap it there unless y'all have one last thing to say. Y'all have anything else to say on that?
No.
All right, cool. Let's kill that. Yeah. Also, today, Xbox released. This was the official release day for their next gen consoles, and it killed the internet and killed most of these servers again. I again missed out on an Xbox because my phone was not on today. It wasn't on until about 1:00, thanks to Xfinity failing to unlock my phone in the porting over to AT&T. So I just had a little Wi-Fi device essentially. And you can't receive texts from numbers outside of iMessages on phones that aren't connected to cell phone towers. So I got on, I had an Xbox in my cart, and I was like, all right, here we go. Let's get in there. Oh, all right, let's do my Affirm financing. Let's do this. Oh, it can only send me text messages. So I'm like going through, I'm in the chat with Mario and Brandon. I'm like, hey, it's going to send you a text. Give me the number. And then their firm's like, sorry, you already have an account. I'm like, oh my God. And I miss out.
Wow.
Again, I had an Xbox. I had one that I was going to be able to pick up today. It just wasn't meant to be.
You call Xfinity and tell them they owe you.
Boy, Xfinity does not want to hear from me today.
Call the SEC, the FCC.
Fraud. That's what I'll do. I'll start claiming fraud on.
My dad literally did that to Comcast one time, because remember when they went like 2 weeks without bearing our cable?
Yeah.
He filed a complaint with the FCC, and legitimately within 24 hours he got a call from corporate, and 24 hours after that we had somebody out here burying our cable.
Well, I guess that's the way you do it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, Xfinity, you owe me $500.
Right. Did y'all hear though that with the PS5, I don't know if this is the same with the Xbox, but they pretty much there's like a disclaimer on it that it will be shipped as is, so they can't really hide what it is. So there's gonna be a whole bunch of PS5 sitting outside of people's houses. You better be waiting. You better be waiting
Bro.
outside your door for that shit.
I'm staying home that day that it's supposed to be coming. Holy shit.
And you know FedEx and UPS don't knock on doors unless you got a signature.
Right.
They just throw it at your door. That's all they do. Well, USPS and UPS not so much, but FedEx.
Yeah.
Oh, Gronk spiked that shit into your patio. Oh, you got an Xbox, huh? You got a PlayStation? I'm
already
jealous.
They'll be in their truck before the package even hits the floor. Like, goddamn.
Bruh. Nah, it's funny though, because FedEx picks up at my job, and we had one dude who used to pick us up. I called him Kobe, because he would unload it. Like when he was trying to load up his truck, take our stuff and load up his truck, he was just shooting boxes on top of the other. He just like, oh, Kobe over there. Like, dude, you know it's aftershave and stuff in there. That stuff can break. Kobe.
Why's that box wet?
Oh man.
People.
But yeah, that's my sad moment with the Xboxes.
Nothing but sadness from this Microsoft.
Yeah, for real. You know what? I'll skip the iPhone. Well, no. We'll get into that for you, Marco. So iPhone is rolling out a new update for their phones to where they're doing contact tracing. And with its near field contacts and NFCs, if you get near someone else that has had or is registered as having COVID, your phone will go, hey, heads up, you've been exposed. And so it's just another way of tracing. And so it's always on, and it will alert you. And it'll say, hey, look, man, you've been exposed, and it'll alert the people that have been around you. It's just a really quick, efficient way to trace. And
not like a breach of privacy a little bit.
Well, this is what I'm getting into. I knew as soon as I read that, I didn't even go on the internet or anything. As soon as I saw that, I was like, man, the tinfoil hat community are about to fucking lose it. They're about to absolutely lose it when it comes to their phone constantly tracking them, which it already does. It
already does.
Your location, your microphone's all the way, always on, unless you turn those type of things off, but then your phone just doesn't work how it should. So Marco, what do you think about this? Your brand new iPhone 11 constantly tracking who you're around and who you're exposed to.
I mean, like you said, I know it already does that, but I think that the problematic part is that it's I don't know, it's disclosing medical information. That's the problematic part. So I don't know if it's just like a warning and it's like, okay, you got to guess the COVID. It's like, how, does it tell you directly? Like, oh, that guy right there, he had like, or is it like, okay, but watch out, 5 feet, somebody within 5 feet.
Back up.
Has had COVID in the last 2 weeks. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I know I've seen someone with it already, and they sent me a screenshot. Let me see if I can find it. It will tell you.
So does it get into like the maps too and be like, don't go that way. There's somebody with COVID over there. We're calculating a new route.
This area's got COVID.
Calculating new route. COVID infection.
So it says your iPhone is exchanging random IDs with other phones and logging them. The past 14 days of requests to check your exposure log are saved, and it tells you your active region, the Department of Health that's over it. It says your active region determines the guidelines for notifying you of your possible exposures, and then it gives you a link to it. And it says share a COVID-19 diagnosis. So you would have to tell it that you have COVID.
Oh, so you're being like a patriot. You're like,
you were doing the responsible thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're volunteering your medical information,
right?
Oh man, I took that in a completely different direction. No,
what?
It'd be like, get a notification. You slept with this girl. She has herpes. No.
No. This girl also slept with your buddy. Wait, what? Oh.
That's not to the iPhone 15.
Oh God. All right. And to close off our intro, I want to take a little moment to appreciate Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, for those of you who don't know, Marco, do you want to give his history, or I don't know how much of a Dave Grohl fan you are.
Dave Grohl, he's from DC. He started in a punk rock band called Scream, and then Nirvana, the famous Nirvana with Kurt Cobain, where they were looking for a new drummer after Chad Channing wasn't cutting it anymore. And one day they saw him at a show and they recruited him, and the rest is history. They went on to sell millions of albums, and of course Kurt Cobain was killed, and then Dave Grohl had to the misconception is that he was already going to go solo anyway, because his first demo was already completed before Kurt Cobain died.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so because he played all the instruments on his first album. So that's just him. The first Foo Fighters album is just him. But yeah, he started the Foo Fighters, and they went on to be just as, if not more successful than Nirvana. Now, whether their music is as good, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I'd say longevity makes them, by definition, more successful.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the history.
Yeah. So Dave Grohl released, the Foo Fighters, released a new single yesterday called "Shame, Shame, Shame," and it released on two different file types on Tidal. I didn't know what the other one was, and it was RA360, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Oh no.
What?
I'm just trying to, in my mind, I'm guessing, is that like...
Yeah, what do you think RA360 is?
I'm imagining that's like, you know how they have stereo? They also have like eight different things.
You're on the right path. Yeah. Okay. It's called Realistic Audio 360. And so what it is, it gives you a spherical recording of it. So you can get high, low, left, right, down, everything. You can get in a 360 recording experience. And it just really made me think back on all the things that Dave Grohl has done for recording. For those of you who don't know, he has a recording studio that in his garage they converted, and he'll take bands in there and he'll record with them, and he'll really he'll challenge them. He often makes the bands that he brings in there do different things than what they're used to. My favorite band, Zach Brown, went in there and they recorded an EP, which was excellent. It's called the Grohl Sessions, actually, and it's completely different from anything they had done before. And it's the sound quality is amazing, and just the type of music, it gives them life. But as an artist, he really takes audio to the next level. And for those of you that don't or have never actually listened to high quality music on an audiophile scale, and I'm not talking about I've got like $100 Sony speakers. I'm talking about like you're dropping 10 grand into your amps, and you have an amp per speaker, and your speakers cost several thousands of dollars. I'm talking about those type of setups, and you're tuning your rooms, those type of setups. It just changes the way you listen to music, and it changes it completely. It changes the game. I could never go back. Once I was exposed to high definition music, I was like, oh, this is what it's supposed to sound like. This is what I was supposed to be hearing the entire time. And it's just crazy how much better it sounds. But Dave Grohl himself is an audiophile. What's that, Marco?
Most people can't tell the difference between a wave and an MP3.
Oh, God, no. I mean, for those of you who don't know, like a wave is typically like in between 64 kilobytes and 128 kilobytes of data per second. An album, a record, like you can't quantify it because it's analog. But if they had to guesstimate, that's like around, you're getting about 44 to 60 megabytes a second worth of audio. So if you think about that, like you're taking what sound should be at 60, let's just call it 60 megabytes a second, and compressing it all the way down to what you're streaming on Spotify, which is like 256 kilobytes per second. So you're losing so much audio, and you're losing all the intricacies, the things in the background, the sound staging. You just don't get that because it's all compressed just to make it stream quicker to you. And that's why someone like myself, and because anytime someone asks me like, "Oh, why don't you have Spotify?" It's like, well, it's because I have Tidal, and Tidal does lossless audio and master audio, which is exceeding what CD quality is. So,
Question for you.
sir,
So when you're listening to this 360 thing, what kind is headphones?
you got to do headphones unless you have a Dolby type setup for your home theater, because you can't do it on the soundbar. You definitely don't do it on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You need a high-end pair of headphones. So get something like these Sonys are a good entry-level high def headphones. Don't do it on Beats because Beats is not high quality. Certainly don't do it on Bose because no highs, no lows must be Bose. Go and get you some good quality headphones and do it that way. But it's definitely for those people who appreciate audio. When I listen, because I came down here last night and I was like, let me wait for these Xboxes to drop and I'll listen to this. And I just sat here with my eyes closed. I was like, oh my God, it's literally coming from everywhere.
Sounds like you were high.
I was not, actually. I wish I was.
It's coming from everywhere, man.
But I mean, when you record in a 360, you got your sound staging is set up to be that. It's really crazy.
I'm high on sound.
Yeah. Ugh.
Now, speaking of Dave Grohl, though, you know my favorite group that he worked with was who that was.
Mm-hmm.
Them Crooked Vultures.
The D.
Tenacious D.
Oh, Tenacious D. It's funny. So I was literally just listening to a tribute like an hour ago.
Wonder Boy.
Jack. I'm gonna not Jack Black. Jack Black. Because I always mix up Jack White and Jack Black. Two totally different artists.
Yeah.
But
One
Jack Black is
more likable.
Yeah, Jack White is quite an arrogant bastard, but he's a musical genius. Anyway, Jack Black is also an underappreciated artist, I think so, for his talents.
Kyle Gass is a really talented guitarist.
He's an amazing guitarist. All right, anyway, Marco, I'm going to set you up a little bounce pass here, man.
Time for the layup, aka the aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint. I just have to get a button that I just press and it says that. So for today, as y'all know, there's not much basketball going on, but we still managed to bring you the news breaking today and all the top stories. So today, we have to say goodbye to a Boston legend, commentating great, Tom Henson. Henson? Is that Henson? Tom Henson. He passed away at 86. Like I said, he's sort of out of my age range, but I've heard a lot of people on the radio, like 50 plus and up, who said that they grew up with this guy. So I thought it was worth mentioning my man, Tom Henson.
I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce it right now.
Maybe we should
cut in the dark.
Heinsohn. You had it right.
Okay, Tom
Heinsohn.
So rest in peace to him. In other news, Sterling Brown, who is a guard in the NBA, I believe in Milwaukee, or at least he was at the time. I'm not sure if he's still there.
No, he
finally reached a settlement for $750,000 after being tased and taken to the ground by the police. So we got to give him a good round of applause there. Originally, they had offered him $400K, but he rejected that offer and he came back strong with that $750,000. So good applause to Sterling Brown there for getting over on those Milwaukee cops after they got over on his face. All right, so in actual NBA news,
got over on his face.
They beat him up. There's a picture.
I remember. He got his ass whooped.
Yeah, pretty bad. So in actual news, last episode I sort of forgot to mention this, but as of Tuesday last week, it was said that they were going to go to a vote to decide whether or not the NBA came back on the date that they had decided. we didn't really hear much about that vote, so I'm assuming that they just pushed forward. I don't know if people actually voted,
22nd.
but say what?
They did vote. They were talking about it today.
Okay, so they did vote. So
Yeah.
the day, no, I know that I know they made the decision, but I don't know if the players actually voted, or if they're just like, no, this is happening. But so the date is going to be the December 22nd. There's going to be a shortened 72 game season, and I saw this IG post. I could not find it again, but apparently this is the shortest amount of time any pro league has ever had between two seasons. It's something around 70 games, and I think the next was like 80 or something like that. I hate finding stuff on Instagram because once you scroll past it, you can never find it again.
Yeah, you're like, no, come back.
Right, unless you save it intentionally. So I want to ask y'all a couple questions in regard to this 22nd start with the 72 game season. First of all, how do y'all think this will affect the NBA season? You can sort of go on it, answer it any way, whether it's quality or just you can have your own take on that. Mike, how do you think this is going to affect the NBA season?
I don't think it'll affect it that negatively. You will see a lot of the vets for the teams who went deeper in the playoffs might take some time off early in the season. But like, especially like the Lakers, I think they're gonna load manage a little bit more. Clippers definitely. Kawhi might play 50 games this season.
What's basketball?
Now Jimmy Butler will probably play all 72. That's just Jimmy Butler.
Play 45 minutes a game for 72 games.
Yeah. I don't believe in breaks. But yeah, I mean, but for the most part, you're gonna see a lot of these. You'll still see a lot of teams. Like, I don't think the Nuggets will really do rest many players, because like I think their average age in their team is like 25.
Yep.
So I think, but you're gonna see a lot of these teams full of older vets that were in the bubble and played deep into the bubble. You don't see them start to rest a lot. But I think for the most part, it shouldn't affect it that big. I still think it'll be pretty good basketball, because especially the teams in the bubble, they should be still somewhat in game shape. They haven't had enough time to kind of get out of game shape.
So let me ask you a spin-off question of something you just said.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that the older teams are probably going to do some resting. Do you think that this at all benefits some of the younger teams like the Hawks, or, like you already said, Denver, in terms of maybe having success and making it to a postseason?
Potentially. So I think if the Suns manage to play like the Lakers and the Clippers early in the season, they could potentially sneak some early wins against them and get I don't know if they'll necessarily be high, but like if they could start out the season, 5-2 before a lot of these teams full of vets start to play their star players, then they might be able to, stay competitive enough to make a playoff spot, like 7th, 8th, 8th seed. Which honestly, if they play like they did in the 8 games in the bubble, I mean, they could potentially be a 4 or 5 seed in the West, because they played exceptionally well. But yeah, like teams like the Hawks, I don't think it'll be as much in the East, because there weren't many older teams that went deep in the East, because the Boston's still young for the most part. You got Toronto. Well, Toronto's a little older,
but not only the fact that they're old, but they played deep.
Yeah.
So,
but I think I think you won't have as much issues from the younger guys, just because, I mean, they're in their prime. They have the energy and they can do it. But I think, like I said, I think it more so affects like the LeBrons, the Lakers in general, because a lot of their stars, a lot of the guys who get a lot of play time for them are in their 30s. So they're going to be like, I can't. Either they're going to play extremely limited minutes, or they're just going to take a lot more days off early in the season.
Ryan.
This is going to be the season of flip flopping in the standings, because you're going to see at the beginning of the season as a lot of these teams that played during the bubble that are resting their stars and their older players and just their players who played a lot of minutes in general be at the bottom end of the standings, and you're going to see a lot of illegitimate teams at the top of the standings at the very beginning. It's going to be interesting to see how those 8 teams that didn't play in the bubble and the 6 that like haven't played since like March, the Hawks included, play. If it's a benefit to them, are they going to be more rested, or is rust going to be a major problem? Also, you're going to see some really sloppy basketball because you've got the draft coming up here in 10 days. And then 2 days after that, you have free agency open up. So you're going to have a lot of pieces that are moving all around, and they're not going to have much time to really gel with their teams, because typically you have, the draft at the beginning of the year, and then you have free agency. And then a lot of these guys will go play in like the Drew League together. They'll go play at that Lifetime Fitness up in New York that everyone plays at. And they spend a lot of time, even though it's not technically like NBA time, they get to learn, they learn how to play with each other, because I think basketball is probably the most chemistry driven sports out there. If you don't gel with your teammates, it can really throw you off, and you can go from a player being like an all-star to a bum if they just don't fit on a team. Or if if you put 2 all-stars together and they don't get that chemistry going, it could look like Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like those two just don't fit together. It's not how it works. They're the same skill set. You can't do that with those two. So
Your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn.
exactly. That's just not what that's made out to be. So it's going to be an interesting season to watch. I don't think you're really going to get a feel for who's a good team and who's not until like All-Star break, post All-Star break, probably. And for those of you who don't know, that's like Valentine's Day.
Cool. So, let's forget this whole thing about is it ethical or not, because who cares? But
who cares about ethics and morals?
Who cares about ethics? They get paid so much. But where I'm going to go with this instead is I didn't include it on the rundown, but I did hear that in order to limit travel, they're going to do MLB style series. Whereas so when you play a team, you're going to play the home and away, like back to back. I'm not sure how they're going to work out those logistics, but I thought that was a pretty interesting thing in terms of just switching it up and maybe competitiveness. Like, Ryan, what do you think that kind of thing could sort of do in terms of just how we take in this season?
Are they going to play series? Like, so would the Hawks play like their 6 or 8 games versus the Magic all in like an 8-day span? Or are you just talking about like if they played the Magic, then they would then play the Magic again the next day, like a home and away, like those terrible trips they have to do every now and then?
It says NBA and the Board of Governors continued discussion on call today about playing something resembling more of a baseball series to limit travel outside the bubble. For example, a team might travel to New York and play its 2 road games against the Knicks and 1 versus the Nets.
Okay, so it's just like an area, a regional type of thing.
Regional type of thing.
That makes sense. I've always thought that I thought the NBA had done a poor job of doing that. Now, granted, they had to schedule with arenas renting out for concerts and things like that, so there was a lot of things that came into play there. But that makes sense to me. That makes sense. Like if you're going to go to New York, play the teams in New York that's on your schedule that season, and then go out west and play those teams, instead of having to go New York, then LA, then Seattle, then back home to Atlanta for 2 games, and you're going down to Orlando, then you're going to Houston, then you're going up to Denver, then you're going to San Antonio. It's like, what? This shit doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right, and your team, you can tell your team did that because they play like trash.
Right, your team's exhausted.
Michael, what do you think about this a potential setup?
I mean, I like it. I like it better. Like you said, it's less strain. You get less jet lag players and stuff like that. I mean, like to be perfectly honest with you, you could do more than that. So like, play the Knicks, play the Nets, then make the trip to Philly, because you can legitimately cover that entire, area. Now, granted, I mean, pretty much the whole New England area is like within 2 hours of each other. So you can cover most of those in like, bro, you don't even really need planes to do it because all that stuff's so close. But I mean, it makes a lot more sense to do it that way than like Ryan referred to earlier, just all the sporadic travel everywhere.
Yeah, I personally think that this will be great for competitiveness, like building back those old school rivalries that we sort of used to have in the NBA. That sort of like it doesn't really exist anymore until you get to the playoffs. But like some of these in division rivalries, like the Hawks in Boston or the Hawks in Washington, or I only know the Hawks rivalries because I don't know what other rivalries really going on there.
The Hawks and Heat used to be a really good one too.
Yeah, the Hawks and the Heat. So I think that's pretty cool. I'll sort of skip this if you think the Olympics have anything to do with the decision.
Which they do, but it was TV money. Yeah.
Right. Because I knew
portion.
they were complicit in sort of, you're not going to step on the Olympics. That's, especially with the NBA players having to go and take part in that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. So I've compiled this list of free agents. Well, I didn't compile it. It was compiled for me by the Instagram. And
I brought these names to you off the top of my head.
Because I'm such a brilliant basketball mind. So out of these free agents, I just want y'all to look through this list real quick, and I'll say them for the listeners. We got Anthony Davis is on this list as well, but I'm going to go ahead and cross him out because he's a free agent strictly for getting more money, not that because he really wants to go anywhere. So the number one name on this list is Fred VanVleet, followed by Christian Wood. He's a Detroit. He plays for the Pistons. He's a forward. He's pretty talented. Brandon Ingram, Davis Bertans, the shooting guy from Washington, Bogdanovich, Malik Beasley, Danilo Gennari, Derek Jones Jr., and Hassan Whiteside. So out of these names, who would you be interested in, and who do you think might have the most impact on whatever team they go to? I'll let you go first, Micah.
First things first. You kind of butchered my boy's name, Danilo Gallinari.
What did I say?
Danilo Gennari.
Yeah.
I did not say good. That must have been my mic
did.
cutting off.
Nope. That was your mouth.
I didn't say Gennari. I know how to say Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah, you might have been talking too fast.
Them Italians
skipped a bunch of syllables.
That's not how I remember it.
I didn't do that.
I mean, who do I think can help a team most? It really, like, which team though? I mean, they're all.
That's
your
answer, man. Your world.
You talking about the Hawks?
I mean, answer how you want to answer, man. Go ahead.
Oh God. I mean, like Fred VanVleet is tailor-made for Toronto. I mean, he fits everything that he embodies that team's personality. Brandon Ingram is probably the most interesting player on here for me. But I think his best fit is probably stay in New Orleans and continue to develop down there with that crew that they have down there. So,
you like any of these guys for the Hawks?
Not really. Not really. Because I mean, Malik Beasley, but I think Malik Beasley isn't necessarily the caliber player that we need. Just because I think he's better than what we have at the shooting guard, but he's not significantly better than what we have at the shooting guard. So it's just like versus like, because you got Cam, who I think Cam has a higher ceiling and Cam has more size. So like I said, I like Malik Beasley. He's a solid player, but is he the type of player? Is he the type of talent that could potentially get us over the hump and at least get us in the playoffs. I'm not 100% sure on.
Ready, set, Ryan.
I don't want Fred VanVleet. I'm going to approach this from the Hawks standpoint because bump every other team in the league. I don't care about them. I don't want Fred VanVleet. He's too undersized. He's a winner, but he's not going to – you don't need two undersized guards in this backcourt. Christian Wood's an interesting one just because he was really nobody, and then he got all that playing time in Detroit this year and broke out. Literally was like averaging 19 points a game. He was shooting the lights out. He's a big that can shoot, and that would help here, but I just don't think that's what we need. I don't believe in him yet. The player that I would want the most, and I think that is the player that style of player that we need is Brandon Ingram, just because he does it on both sides of the court. He is an elite talent. He made the jump from a player that has a lot of talent, upside to him to, okay, this is what we were waiting on. And he averaged 26 points a game last year. He can shoot, he can drive, he can play defense, he can handle the ball at 6'10". He's essentially
he's like 6'7".
Really?
Yeah.
Unless he might be one of those players because coming out he was huge. But he is 6'7". Wow, a lot of these players, college measurements.
He was listed 6'8" in college.
Was he?
Right.
But still 6'8", and he's long. He's a long 6'8".
He is. He's definitely long.
He's essentially a little bit short of Kevin Durant for his skill sets and what he could be. I would love to get him. I just don't think the Hawks have the draft capital and the players to move because he's a restricted free agent, if I remember correctly. So we would have to, the Pelicans have the right to match. So we'd either have to trade or just offer him something ridiculous. But the Hawks' biggest problem is depth. We need a lot of pieces. So adding someone like Brandon Ingram would be great, but we would still have the problem of, the bench. So what I would like to see the Hawks do is grab like 3 players from this list. Get a Malik Beasley, just because he's a drastically underrated 2-guard who fell into a system out in Denver to where he got buried on the depth chart. They had so many players, and he never really got the chance to show it until this year. And then his per 36 was like 17 or 18 points a game. And he's a scorer. It's what he is. He kind of reminds me of when we got Lou Williams. A lot of people are like, what can Lou Williams be? And then he came here and just people are like, oh, okay, that's what he could be. There's another player on this list, or not on this list, that I want, and that's Joe Harris from the Nets. Mm-hmm. We need shooting.
Yeah,
we need people who can space the floor and hold defenders accountable to the corners and the wings for people like Collins, for people like Trey to drive. We need more shooting on the court. We need more consistent shooting. So
Bertans, Bogdanovich, and Gallinari.
I would say Bogdanovich would be a great add, although he would be a starter. I don't know what young guy would be willing to move to the bench for Bogdanovich. But kind of like
it had to be Hunter.
Yeah.
But he's too good defensively to bench.
Right. I'm not willing to give up on Hunter yet, but I would like to see an offseason very similar to the ones where we got Millsap, Carroll, and Tabo, I think, was our third one that we added. When people were like, okay, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Millsap coming out of the Jazz hadn't really done anything to that point. Carroll was just one of those 6 men, and Tabo was just a defender. And
did we draft Carroll?
No. Carroll came to us in free agency.
Okay. I'm thinking we tried to replace him with Torian.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, Torian was supposed to be our Carroll fix, but even bringing someone like Torian back as a bench player would be great. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I think we need to add quality, quantity. Good, a lot of good players, not one great player.
Right.
Another name on there that I wouldn't mind bringing back as a bench player, Whiteside.
We have so many big men, though.
Yeah, but you can get rid of a big man for Whiteside. So if you have Capella and Whiteside as your rotational bigs,
it worked for the The Blazers for sure.
We might draft a big too though. So
Yeah.
Whiteside.
I don't trust not a single one of these.
Wait, what's his name out of Memphis?
Wiseman?
Wiseman, yeah.
No, not Wiseman. He's going to be gone. There's another one we're projected for at the
The guy from USC,
Yeah.
Okwango or
Like I said, knowing us, we'll probably get Obi Toppin and just get another player who's exactly like what we already have.
John Collins and John Collins Jr.
Younger John Collins.
But just so on this list, I think that the two players obviously who could make the biggest difference are going to be Hassan Whiteside and Brandon Ingram. I think Hassan Whiteside on Boston needs to go after him because their one thing is they needed a big, they needed somebody to defend the paint. And like you said, Whiteside got a bad reputation, but I feel like with the Blazers, he sort of showed his value. And I think Brandon Ingram would actually be good on the Blazers. As just, because Dame, it's like your two guards. First of all, those two dudes don't play any defense, CJ and Dame. And then it's easy to lock them down in the playoffs because you just need a little bit of length and that's it. So I think Brandon Ingram would be able to be that, that bigger, longer, forward who could, score a lot for them and, maybe get them to the second round.
Well, they need more consistent scoring anyway, because if Dame is having an off night, they're done.
Exactly. Well, CJ steps up, but it's
either that. Like if Dame is having an off night, CJ has to put up like 40, and then everybody else has to go absolutely off for them to have a shot.
Right. And Van Fleet, he's probably gonna stay in Toronto. That dude takes some terrible shots, man. He's a terrible shot taker.
I want to introduce a topic for the NBA that I think is something that's newsworthy, that's not getting a lot of national news either, but it's being mentioned here and there. But James Harden is not happy with the Stephen Silas hiring in Houston.
Yeah, we were sort of talking about that last week, right?
We mentioned that those were the candidates, but now with Stephen Silas being their head coach, Harden was not okay with that.
Yeah.
And he's openly voiced his displeasure with that because he wanted more of a veteran coach. He wanted someone, that's proven. He doesn't want someone like this. But Luka came out and was like, look, James, Silas is the real deal. He's the reason that I jumped from last year to this year. So what do you guys think about Harden possibly, already being a malcontent with their coach? And is it possible to trade James Harden? Like, can you trade a player of that quality just because you got a new coach? Or would you keep Harden and like, all right, look, sorry, Silas, we've got a generational talent here that doesn't want you.
You can't do that, man. You can't just hire the guy and fire him. Even though I feel like it's been done before where they're like, oh, we were just playing.
Just kidding.
But I mean, I was saying last week, trade Harden to Philly. Like, make that work. Get Embiid
back to Morey.
Yeah, and start building down there with Embiid and Westbrook and get some other pieces. Yeah, I definitely think James Harden's tradable.
He absolutely is. I mean, here's the thing. As great as James Harden is, he's 31 years old. So how many years theoretically do you see yourself building around him and him truly competing at a high level before the actual athleticism starts to wane and he starts to lose a little
step
bit.
Back.
Yeah, like that step back isn't quite as crisp. He's not creating as much space with that extra. He's got to take 3 steps instead of 2 to get the space he needs. So I think like you said, for them, honestly, the more I thought about it, trading Harden to Philly for Embiid would be a smarter move long term than trying to find a coach to keep James Harden happy. Because I mean, I think they've kind of gotten beyond the necessarily championship now thing. I think they're kind of on the train. Maybe in a year or two, once we like get a system in place and get established. But I think James Harden still wants to, like, he still thinks, oh, we can potentially challenge for a championship now. No, you can't. You have holes. So yeah, I mean, I think that trade him, see if you can get a younger centerpiece and move forward with Steven Silas as your head coach.
Agreed. Okay, next. All right. So as we move on, thank you for that addition, Ryan. So John Wall recently joined Gilbert Arenas on his podcast. What is his podcast called? It's called what is it?
Hibachi.
Hibachi. I forget what the name of it is. But they were basically, so John Wall within the last couple of weeks, he was actually up there with the Brooklyn Nets, scrimmaging with them, which I thought was a little strange.
No Chill podcast,
which I thought was a bit strange because that's like, but I guess like what Ryan was saying earlier, this is sort of taking the place of them going and playing with Rico Hines and all the kind of stuff they do. But still, I thought it was strange that you play for another team, bro. Like get out of here. But anyway, get on. They were basically talking about how KD was absolutely killing it in the 5-on-5s because they were all sort of like trepidatious about how he would do when he first stepped back on the court. But he came out there, he hit 6 of his 6 first shots, and they said he looked nasty. So the question is, will KD need a recovery season, or will he come back and resume being the best in the league immediately? Go ahead, Ryan.
No, the floor is yours, Micah.
No way.
He will not need a recovery season.
Okay,
He's going to be the first or second best player in the league. KD is a freak. Yeah. He is. No.
Bro, I mean, but like it's been over a year. So he's had plenty enough time to recover from Achilles to be in good enough shape where he's not in danger of tearing it again. I think KD is KD. He's going buckets. Getting buckets, as according to Uncle Drew.
No get back time. The only thing that can hold him back is Kyrie.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Is he's going to lead the Nets to the to wherever they go. People are like, see, I told you Kyrie is great. And I'm like, no, Kyrie's not a good point guard. Speaking
of the co-coach. So who gets to draw the game winning play if since they have so many co-coaches in New Jersey?
Amari Stoudemire.
What an interesting addition.
Kyrie's gonna be like KD's gonna be like, all right, set the pick. I'm gonna roll around, get it to me at the top of the key for the 3. Kyrie's like, all right, that's not a great play. The play is
I'm gonna get the ball 24 seconds. I'm gonna dribble it till there's about 7, and then I'm gonna shoot a step back 3 over 2 guys. Cool.
My play sounds better.
Spread it out for me.
Yeah, my ISO. My play sounds better.
Steve Nash called a timeout. He goes out and starts dribbling the ball, kicking it around.
Oh man.
So anyway, speaking of irony, so John Wall on this podcast also said that NBA players are too friendly, which I found peculiar because not only is he on a podcast talking, which is a very friendly thing to do, but he was also scrimmaging with another team. So do y'all think NBA players are too friendly?
Ooh, give this one to Micah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like here's the thing. I think in the off season you can train together because it does, it kind of gives you a good barometer of, your competition and whatnot. But I think for the most part, like I said, I miss the rivalries. I miss like the true rivalries. And, there were always teams who didn't like each other. Like, but now everybody's buddy. Nobody wants to piss anybody off. Well, you got a few people. Like Jimmy Butler is one that doesn't really care about making friends, but for the most part, most of the like superstars and star caliber players all want to be friends with each other.
I would just like to say that Micah said Jimmy Butler and the other superstars.
No, I said Jimmy Butler is one that doesn't like to make friends, and then I said
superstar,
but the other superstars.
He made it.
He's a strong star. That's what he is. He's a strong star.
Strong star. Is that a new term?
There's the elite superstars, strong stars, kind of like strong bad, and then stars. Strong bad.
It's that guy who's like just quite almost there.
He a strong star.
Like he's like doing, it's like that dude who's doing chin-ups and just got like the tip of his head. The superstar level is like he's got the tip of his head, but you got to get the chin over, bro.
Oh my God. Ryan, are players too friendly these days?
I don't think this makes them too friendly. Like going on the podcast, things like that. No. Yes and no.
You don't think it's like a detriment to the game at all?
No, because I mean, you're still seeing some of the best performances, and the super team thing was annoying, and I'm glad that's done. But
for now.
Yeah, for now. Let's see if another round of it comes around. But no, I agree with Micah on some things, and then some things I don't. It's just you can't damn the entire league when everybody's doing it.
Right. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson couldn't even talk to each other.
Right. You can't just have someone be like, I hate all of them. And, he's going to be on a team by himself.
Hey, granted, I mean, you don't necessarily need Isaiah and Michael Jordan rivalry.
Still won't talk to each other.
But I'm saying they
30 years after the fact, they still can't stand each other.
Right.
But I mean, I do think it's a healthy thing. Like I said, that's why I think football, one of the things football has on basketball is the rivalries. And rivalries are big and they bring great storylines and they're more entertaining because teams play harder when they play teams that they don't necessarily like. And that to me makes for better athletics.
Like blood rivalries between Patrick Ewing and Alonzo Mourning.
Oh man.
So anyway, in other news, some coaching staffs have added former players to their teams. Three, namely, that I'd like to talk, and only really one that I care about. So Chauncey Billups has been added to the Clippers staff. I thought that was a pretty strong move. Sam Cassell has joined the Kings. I mean, I like Sam Cassell a lot, and I hope one day he gets a head coaching job. So that's pretty cool. The Kings is a freaking garbage fire.
Editing note here, insert predator noises.
Yeah. Predator.
That was a joke about Sam Cassell's looks, by the way. And Nate McMillan, the coach that I've been asking for. I said I either want Jason Kidd or Nate McMillan, and the Hawks listen, as they've been doing for this whole entire, like, the Hawks have become like, they just do what the fans want, man. It's so great to have a team in Atlanta that just does what the fans want. So Nate McMillan has sort of been added to the staff, I believe, as a developmental guy / assistant coach / soon to be head coach. So what do y'all think about this? Like the brevity of this Nate McMillan hire. What do you think his role will be in time and now? And what kind of impact do you think he'll have on our season? Who wants it?
You do.
For me? Oh, okay. I like Nate McMillan. I think he's a good coach. I'm like you said, soon to be head coach. I hope that and I like Lloyd Pierce. Lloyd Pierce actually called my phone about to tell me to vote. But I like Lloyd Pierce. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen it. Like, he's supposed to be this like super developmental, like bring the talent out of the young players, but we haven't seen it. Well, we've seen it, but it's not to the level that we thought it would be. So, I think you get a guy like Nate McMillan in there who has some pedigree, who you've seen can develop players. And you get them in your system. So if things don't work out with Lloyd Pierce, or like halfway through the season we're not where they thought we should be, then you can just say, all right, you're gone, Nate. You're the head coach now.
Put that fire on him.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ryan?
Let me start my statement by saying Lloyd Pierce is a bum. He was brought in from the 76ers and marketed as a defensive guru. He is the reason that the 76ers were so good on defense. He's going to teach the Hawks how to be a defensive team, and he's going to bring out the best in all these players. And we have been the bottom defensive team every single year he's been here. I get it. You have Trae Young. Trae Young is not going to be a good defender ever. He's just not built to be a good defender in the NBA. His arms are too short. He's too small. That being said, you have plenty of other players on this roster who were really good in college as defenders and have come here and looked worse since being here. Yeah, I will say that Nate McMillan will save Lloyd Pierce just long enough to where he can get another job elsewhere, but he will eventually take the throne from Lloyd Pierce. But I don't think Nate McMillan is the coach that's going to take us to like the promised land or anything. I don't think he's that quality of coach.
What?
No, I've never been that big of a fan.
Nate McMillan be bringing teams with nobodies to winning records and always in the playoffs. Huh?
What teams with nobodies has he done that with?
All those Indiana teams didn't have a single real star.
These previous Indiana teams that was loaded with talent, those
talent, but no star. Oladipo's not a star. What's his name?
Oladipo is a star. He's not a superstar. Depot when healthy is a star.
Not the Depot he had. The Depot who was hurt. I mean, he still managed to take the team where he was injured.
Yeah, I
right,
mean,
Costco Kawhi. I mean, I'm just saying he's a really good coach.
Indiana,
I don't, like I said, maybe he's not a championship coach, but I think
he could get us to the playoffs.
I think he can even get us deep in the playoffs because he hasn't had a player like Trae Young.
I don't want that.
He's never
but I mean, I playoffs is the first thing we need to tackle.
Yeah.
I don't think, this we have a lot of talent. I just want to see if we have enough talent to potentially get playoff worthy and not just sneak in as an 8th seed with going 29 and what 40 something and be like, oh yeah, we snuck into the playoffs. No, I want to see if we can actually compete.
But I do think I don't know, like in terms of like the coaching carousel and like which coach is actually suited to take us to a championship. I think in the NBA it's almost like I don't know who is it going to be. It's like, is it Brad Stevens hasn't won yet? Like there's a lot of great coaches. Billy Donovan hasn't won yet. There's a lot of great coaches who still haven't won. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's fair yet to say that Nate McMillan can't do it. But I mean, I respect what you're saying. Like, yeah, he's underwhelming as a coach, but I think he's good defensively, like getting his players to buy into a scheme. And they all like his teams are always great teams. Like, you know what I mean? So I do like that about him. Anyway, as we're rounding off this, I do want to say one thing about Lloyd Pierce, though. It's funny that he was lauded as this or touted as this defensive coach when the Philly teams he was coaching for were like the worst for like 4 years. They literally were the process teams. And it's like they didn't play defense. He didn't develop anybody. It's like, what the hell did Lloyd Pierce do in Philly? Like,
well, they said he was Embiid. Like he was one of the key factors in making Embiid who he is what they said.
A big lazy bum. Like,
a guy who plays 22 games of the season.
Eats cheeseburgers during warm-ups. Like, what the hell? Anyway. So I'm gonna skip this Big Baby Davis story. I just sort of wanted to make fun of him in the tiny jersey, but I do want to. Did y'all saw that?
Man in a little suit or coat.
In a little coat. Let me share my screen very quickly. Do I have that option right now?
I'll give you the option. I'll give you all the options.
What does that mean?
I'll give you all the options, and I'll follow you, Marco.
You can switch
please.
gears to me anytime.
Follow me.
One of those LeVar Ball statements.
All right, so here's a little, here's a little big baby.
That looks like some Spice Adams would wear.
Why is his jersey so small? Was it like unexpected that he was gonna play? Like, and then the fact that they're not even mentioning it.
Oh
like,
man, and they got Drewski there.
Yeah. They acting like this fool wearing a normal size jersey and stuff, and apparently they won. So
he got the point guards. He got the point guard jersey and shorts. It's like, let me get that medium.
anyway, so the cool thing was that Dreamville, which I think is J. Cole's thing, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, well, oh, wait, I said that wrong. So pretty much the NBA, I don't know who let this happen. I guess it was Mitchell and Ness. They teamed up with a whole bunch of different rappers from different cities and allowed them to customize some jerseys. So I'm gonna go through these.
I want that Outcast jersey.
Right, isn't that fire? So they got Big Boy here. He's holding is that a hawk?
It's out.
Yes.
Nah, that's a hawk. Yeah, that's his hawk. He got a bunch of birds.
He got a pet hawk?
Yeah. He got owls, hawks. He got a lot of animals.
I gotta hang
Whose
out.
house
with
is
Big Boy.
that? That's what I want to know.
It looks like it's on the south side.
That might be the Dungeon Family Studio.
This definitely looks like a south side house. But so that's the Hawks one. This is the Knicks. This is Ferg, I guess. I'm not really.
Bro, what is that?
Why has he got grandma triceps?
Oh,
Just
They go down.
bro, what is with the Looney Tunes? The Looney Tunes theme on the jersey, like for real, bro?
At the start, that is very Looney Tunes.
What is that?
Good call. This is a Dreamville artist, I'm assuming. They're gonna. There's a bigger picture. This one's pretty nice. That's what's his face? What's this dude's name? Joey Badass? Is that who that is? Anyway, and then I don't know who that is. But here's I don't know who that guy is either.
Wait, go back. You can go back. Hold your mouse over it. It'll tell you who it is.
Oh, Amine.
Amine. Caroline. That he did that Caroline song.
Okay, who's this guy? This is.
Oh, these are just pictures. I see that one. They took it of.
Okay, so which of these jerseys, obviously minus the Atlanta one, which of these jerseys is your favorite?
The
We have
Nets.
to. Yeah. For cleanliness, I'll go. I don't know. I kind of like that Hornets one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Nets. The Rip City isn't that bad. It looked better than the ones they had in the other one you showed last week.
Oh wait, there's one more. There's another one. They have the Philly. They redid the Philly one. They actually rebooted this Allen Iverson cover. He came back looking old as hell.
Oh, Allen.
Of course, this is the classic one. One of my favorite players of all time.
Not really feeling that jersey.
You don't like that?
Mm.
And that's it. I mean, the Kings got one, but who the hell cares about the Kings? So yeah. So I guess y'all said that. I like that. I'm going Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, you said minus Atlanta.
That's just so I could pick it.
You can't pick mine, but which one do you like the best?
Right.
I'm just tripping about the little man on the Heat jersey.
Whoa,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. Was that a lemon head? What is that?
It looked like it.
Yeah, it do look like a lemon head. I
Hey,
feel like
Maggie,
that.
what you doing trying to catch that flaming basketball?
He's wearing a jersey though, so he has
Oh.
sunglasses on and he's dribbling the ball. So he's like,
It's like Caillou.
yeah, it's like
It does
Caillou
look
got
like
the
Caillou.
heat. Caillou got the heat.
Got a dome.
So anyway, that commences the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint. And let's
that
take a break.
will lead us right into the break.
All right.
Stop sharing.
recording. 3, 2, 1.
All right, guys, we are back from our break time. So we're gonna kick this post break thing off with some college football. So not too many major things have happened outside of COVID outbreaks. COVID outbreaks caused 2 big SEC games to be postponed. So both Bama and LSU, which it's big in name, but LSU's trash. So it was going to be a blowout.
You suck.
Georgia and Missouri is going to be postponed because Missouri had some COVID outbreaks. So it's a big thing. College, we've been kind of waiting on these outbreaks to happen. So, what you gonna say, Ryan? Oh, yeah, you just doing the beard.
Scratching my face on my microphone. That's all.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big thing. COVID is now affecting college major SEC football, which is ironic because the South is one of those places that don't believe in wearing masks. So
COVID's a fraud. You're a phony. You're a big fat phony.
Well, apparently Notre Dame fans don't believe in it either.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Please observe the demographic of Notre Dame.
Right.
And then act surprised.
In other big college football news, an almost seemingly unstoppable Clemson team minus Trevor Lawrence takes their first loss in 3 or 4 years?
First regular season loss.
Yeah, first regular season loss in like 3 or 4 years to a Notre Dame team. Was they lose in double overtime, which we all know if Trevor Lawrence is there, that game it's at least a 2-score game. Trevor Lawrence is that good. He is the man, and it just proved like, yeah, once Trevor leaves, we might have a long way to go.
Ungalele looked good.
Yeah, he looked really good, but it's
yeah.
I was saying during the game that it's funny, even though he had such a great game, he was still nowhere near as good as Trevor.
Bruh, but like that last in the second overtime, bruh, it was just like you got to get rid of the ball.
Yep.
And the offensive line looked terrible. Like, cause they were doing 3 and 4 man rushes, and Notre Dame's D line was destroying. Like it was one play, the left tackle, like literally the end runs right by the left tackle. He maybe got a hand on him, and it's like, bro, like
look out.
You're supposed to be NFL caliber a left tackle, and yeah, like you said, lookout blocks. Oh man, sorry, bro. My feet slipped. Yeah, my cleat fell off, so I slipped a little bit. So, oh man, it was pretty bad. Now, granted, I think he'll be pretty good next year, but like, yeah, that was not the right game to be missing your best player in Trevor Lawrence.
Nope.
Other news, Georgia, Kirby Smart pisses me off as a Georgia fan.
Let's talk about it.
Stetson Bennett is not the move. No, he had 1 or 2 good games against teams that weren't great, and you've made him your starter. And we had Justin Fields, arguably the best quarterback in college football right now. We had him on our team.
You
wouldn't let him play.
He has what? They said he has like 10 touchdowns and only 10 incompletions on the season.
Bruh. like you matter of fact, not only would you not let him play, you wouldn't even take the training wheels off of him. So when he
was
play,
a battering ram.
You just ran read option with him. You didn't let him throw the ball except in the games that didn't matter. And then we had an LSU game where Fromm looked terrible. You could, and every time Fields was on the field, move the ball right downfield, get the ball in the red zone, and you immediately took him out and put Fromm in for Fromm not to score. So it's like, bruh, you have shot yourself and this UGA team in the foot over and over and over again by simply choosing the wrong quarterback every time.
So I have a question for you. So obviously you watch Georgia games, and I mean their running backs are still strong, right? But their receiving core is a bit suspect. But my question is, okay, so the fact that Kirby Smart has such a once he makes a decision about who he wants to play, he has a very hard time of backing off of that. So my question is JT Daniels really that bad, or can Kirby just not tell when he has a good quarterback?
I think it's a little of both. I think he's extremely loyal once he's chosen a guy. He's extremely loyal to that guy, and what was it, 2017? The national championship is the perfect example. You have Kirby Smart with Fromm played well that year, but you got Nick Saban, who when his quarterback was struggling in the biggest game of the year, he had no problem taking him out the game, doing what he had to get the win. And that's the difference between a great multiple national championship quality coach and just one
of his lowly assistants.
But like Kirby is a good coach, but I think his strength isn't necessarily decision making and in-game adjustments. His strength is recruiting. He is a monster at recruiting, but like just the in-game decisions and knowing when to take this guy out, put this guy in, he lacks terribly. When to make a move like that, he can't do it.
Sounds like Dan Quinn a little bit.
Very similar. Very similar. Defensive minded, but I mean ultimately that game came down to you got a quarterback who's inconsistent. So your offense couldn't score against a Florida defense that's not that great. And then you have your defense who's been banged up because you got LeCount had the motorcycle accident. His backups, Sine or whatever his name is, I forgot how you pronounce it. He gets knocked out the game early on a targeting call. So you're automatically down 2 safeties, and it became obvious. It's like, all right. And what they did was motion, come out in bunch formation, put people in motion, and then just basically our secondary couldn't communicate. So it just wide open receivers all over the field. So,
and I feel like y'all went away from the running game because Zeus was very effective when he was given an opportunity. But then that just stopped, I guess, because of the lead.
They kept scoring. They scored quick. They put up points, and it was eventually that's what most teams do when they're not necessarily confident in their players, I guess, is they start to, our defense, we can't trust the defense. We got to put up some points on offense. We got to start throwing the ball.
Right, because y'all were up 14-0, and then it just all went to hell from there. But I felt like there was times like after they tied it, y'all started passing a lot, and then that's when Florida was able to just flip the whole entire game because y'all weren't managing possessions and trying to, like you said, they were just trying to match Florida instead of doing what they do best.
I think in those kind of scenarios, one of the best defenses is time of possession. Keep your defense off the field, keep them fresh, run the ball, eat up as much time as you can, and keep them out of rhythm as much as possible. But
You hear that, Dirt Cutter?
but at the end of the day, it was just terribly executed on all the fronts. And Todd Monken is exactly who I thought he was going to be. Like when he was the Bucs offensive coordinator, they were number 3 total offense, number 1 in passing offense, but they were still sub 500. So
Gotta have that balance, man.
If you want to crown him, then crown him.
yeah.
Miami won.
Let's talk about how great Florida State is. Conversation over. Okay.
Eric King had one of his best games of the season, even though it was against NC State. So I don't know, we were down, but he led us back, and we ended up winning that game. So we are still in the hunt, sort of, for the ACC.
Okay. in the hunt. I mean,
Okay.
I like at this point. At this point, it's legitimately just a race between Clemson and Notre Dame. And
yeah, you know, if
Hey,
if the
don't
college
sleep on
football
Miami
minds-
or Indiana.
wait, Indiana's in the ACC now.
No,
Big
I'm
time.
just saying in general, don't sleep on Indiana.
No, I'm sleeping on him. Ohio State got that ass, but it's it's gonna be Ohio State. This is just I'm not gonna like certainties. I feel it's Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame, because anytime Notre Dame gets a slight chance to be anywhere, everybody wants to they're so overrated. Just like Penn State coming into the season, like why are they always so overrated? Why do people think they're good? Like,
Do you remember the year at the Invisible Girlfriend? How good they were?
Alabama's monsters though. Good God,
They're so good.
It's
so
just-
good.
like
I don't think Mac Jones is gonna be a good NFL quarterback though.
but
I think he's going
he's
to be on like the 5th round.
He's the prototypical Bama quarterback. He's more of a game manager, and it's play calling and scheming. He can just make the throws.
It's the fact that he has like 4 5-star receivers that he's throwing to as well.
Well,
Right, and
that's true.
He always throws it short. He's always throwing it.
But I mean, but it's the thing though. Like it was like Coker, JPW, McCarron, AJ McCarron. Most of them they weren't dynamic quarterbacks, but they scheme so well and they execute so well that you always have open receivers. And the only thing you're responsible for is knowing what the coverage is, so you know which man will get open first. And that just be smart. That's all we have. Be smart and just throw the ball in their general vicinity, and they'll make plays.
Is Ian Book a good quarterback?
He's scrappy, but no. I
He
mean,
just keeps winning.
Yeah, he's like, he's not like great at anything. He's just like a scrappy guy, a winner. He's like Minshew.
He's a little more athletic though. Who's the guy? It's like but it's always like perfect storm scenarios. Like last week, you faced a Clemson team that's not at their best, so you get a huge win in that game, but they always wind up losing to somebody that they play a team and they just get dominated. You just see that, all right, he's not quite as good as we thought.
I mean, he doesn't impress me that much, but I think that he's definitely competent. And
I mean, he's a solid quarterback. He just, nothing he does is going to like just stand out on paper like, yo, this dude is a beast.
What about, all right, I want to ask this before we get off the
College
scene. Is Kyle Trask for real, or is he a product of that system?
I don't trust SEC quarterbacks.
I think I give more of the credit to Dan Mullen. And as much of an idiot as Dan Mullen can be, he is really, really good at developing quarterbacks and scheming. He is a very, very good offensive mind. Now, the only quarterback, Well, I won't even say he couldn't develop him because Felipe Franks, when healthy, he was solid. But the problem was he always wound up getting these like serious injuries. So, but I think like I said, I give more of the credit to Dan Mullen. I think Trask will be okay at the next level.
6'5", 240. I mean, I think they're gonna drool and slobber over him when it comes to like pro days and stuff.
He
But
has
I don't think
all the measurements.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's the guy that looks great, like physically, but you I think when they really start to analyze the tape, they're gonna be like, he's
right. And when it comes to actually like being an NFL quarterback is so different than being a college quarterback that you have to really be like, mindful and heady. It was so funny in that Nick Foles game where the headset went out and they were like looking to the sideline like in college. They were like, what's the play? But it's like there's just so much of that, especially in the SEC. It's like pulling up the big ass cards. I mean, that's every conference, but I think that when it comes to actually being a heady quarterback, he's gonna fall short. But he has the arm.
He was a McElwain recruit. I didn't know that.
He was a what?
He was a McElwain recruit.
Is that shark guy?
Yeah. Huh. And then apparently he got knocked out in practice last year. No, two years ago, he got hit in practice and knocked out for the season by one of his players.
Damn.
It was apparently a cheap shot. Yeah. Anyway, Mike, is that it for the college football rundown?
That is the conclusion for college football. Now, on to you.
Kill. Technically, college football is a part of the Blitz grits blitz.
I'm about to blitz these grits.
I'm gonna blitz the hell out of these grits. Eat them so fast I won't even know what happened. That will happen every episode. That will literally happen every episode. It's like when I try and say seat heaters in the middle of a sentence fast, but without thinking, I'll always say heat seaters.
How often do you have to say heat seaters?
Enough that I know that that's a thing that I do.
I just messed it up right then too.
Yeah.
Right? Heat seaters. Wait, hold on. What? Let's not do a full recap of all the games. Let's just go over the games that we missed after our show went off the air. The two biggest ones were the Saints and the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
God.
They played football. One team did at least.
One team did.
Yeah.
One team came out and played football while the other one just laid down. Good Lord. The Saints just absolutely trounced the Buccaneers.
Tom Brady wants no parts of Drew Brees ever.
Bruh, here's the funny thing. He actually shakes Breeze's hand after the game, but Nick Foles, nah, screw this guy.
You're not better than me.
Don't talk to this guy.
I hate Tom Brady. I really hate that one of those teams has to win every time they play. If Tom Brady was not a Buccaneer, I would want the Buccaneers to win every time. But now that he's a Buccaneer, it's like, can you both lose?
Ryan's hoping for that scene for The Dark Knight Rises where the field blows up and everybody just falls down.
Oh, well.
What about Jameis getting to eat a W on the other side?
I loved that. I loved it. I love Jameis. I really hope that this trip to New Orleans saves his career. And then he comes to Atlanta and he's the Jameis that he was freshman year at Florida State. That would be great.
As long as he's not eating W's, I'm good.
Hey, man, he can eat W's all he wants. He's actually an excellent leader.
I forgot about all that stuff
where shit.
Between him and Lattimore. It's funny that they're on the same team now.
Wait, what? I didn't even know about this.
Like when he was talking trash to Lattimore and Mike Evans came over and blasted Lattimore in the head.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
So Mike Evans was defending his quarterback, and now his quarterback's on the same team,
eating dubs,
trolling them.
That's got to feel so good for Jameis to be on the team that just swept the prior team and just dominated him both times. Absolutely dominated him. And then there was the Patriots and the Jets. And man, all right. So let me give you a little backstory. So the Pat McAfee show does this segment because he's partnered with FanDuel, and FanDuel has like bookies now, and they're a major betting company, and he does a segment called Hammer Down or Hammer Down, where he likes to place. They give him a chance to move the line on games, essentially, on games that he picks that he doesn't think are accurate in the way they're being projected. So Pat McAfee picked the Jets and the Patriots games because they were giving the Patriots 9.5, and McAfee was like, nope, that's not going to be the case. The Patriots are garbage. The Jets are going to play better, and this is what it's going to be. And there's a guy, I forget his name. One of the guys on the McAfee show is a Patriots fan. He's from Boston, and he's your prototypical douchebag Boston guy that's a sports fan. And everything that the Patriots do is the right thing to do, and they can't do anything wrong, and so on and so forth. For those of y'all that are listening that know Bostonians in the sports world, you know what we're talking about. It's him. You bring up anything, he's like, 5 rings. It's like, shut up, man. So he was losing it on the show. If you haven't seen it, go watch that segment where for this past Mondays, before the Monday game, where they were talking about that. And he absolutely lost it. And the best thing is the Jets should have beat the Patriots. They took it down to the very last second of the game. And thanks to it was Nick Folk as their kicker now, right?
Yep.
For the Patriots.
Former Jet, former
Charger, former everything. Yeah. Nick Folk's been around the league for quite some time. When I heard that name, I was like, I didn't know he was still in the fucking league. But the Patriots look bad, guys. They look,
my God,
awful.
First of all, they have no talent at their skill position at all.
None.
Cam Newton, oh my God, those balls he was throwing, like what in the hell? The referees they saved them on that last drive with some phantom penalty that kept it alive. And then Cam finally hit. If you look at his stat line, it didn't look that bad. But in that fourth quarter, like he was missing everything. And then he finally hit a little clutch pass that put them in a position to win that game. But
you know what we should do? We should bring Brett back on to talk about some of these things. Mainly Drew Lock. But Cam Newton, just talk about some of the surprises in this league.
Remember, he was like, Cam Newton is good at hitting that intermediate pass.
Yeah, I want to see what he's seeing because maybe we're missing something. Maybe Cam has just regressed.
I think he did in Carolina, and this year I think he just different receivers. Receivers aren't good.
I mean,
rhythms off. I don't know.
That's why it sort of flummoxed me when Brett Coleman said that, because I've never seen Cam hit those passes. To me, Cam needs a guy who can outrun coverage, so he can have. Cam needs a lot of opportunities to throw long balls, and obviously,
no. Here's the difference, though, because I remember, cause one of the top Cam videos, like one of the viral videos, is that one where they're playing was it the Packers? And you hear the linebacker say, "Hey, watch the wheel route. Watch the wheel route."
Oh, you've been watching tape.
Oh, you watch film, huh? Watch this, and then throws the halfback angle route to Christian McCaffrey. The problem is he just doesn't have any playmakers.
Yeah,
and it's so timing. And I think, like I said, shortened preseason. He just never developed any kind of chemistry or timing with any of these guys he has. Then you miss COVID midseason. I think it's just the perfect storm of bad things.
2/3 of the defense opted out.
Exactly. It's just a bunch of bad things that are going wrong. And he just, he looks bad. I mean,
Right. 20. He had like 20 days to prepare with the team.
yeah.
When things go bad, you often revert back to your bad habits.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a lot of that with Cam. He's trying to do too much, and he's, dropping that back shoulder, throwing off his back foot.
Superman trying to make plays.
Right, exactly. LeMahieu just opted out and said, "No thanks, Yankees. I'm gonna go make more money."
Yeah.
Nice.
And what's his name?
Stanton.
Drew Lock. You
Drew Lock.
talking about Brett with Drew Lock?
Oh yeah,
Drew Lock looked monstrous in the fourth quarter.
He did. I mean, it was that
he looked okay.
he was just he
those
just
are
looked
another
competent because he was so
penalties.
scared in all the other three quarters. By comparison,
I think the commentator said it. It's like he tries to do too much early and makes a lot of mistakes, and then once they get behind big, the pressure comes off, and then he just starts playing like backyard football, and he looks a lot better. So it's like if you could just figure out how to get him that playing like that all game, then you might have a good quarterback versus, a guy who's good when you're down by 4 scores.
right?
And 7 years ago.
But before we move from recap games, I do want to shout out the Pittsburgh Steelers real quick, and they started 8-0, and Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in 14 years, and he just passed Dungy for the winningest black coach in NFL history. So,
And what's his name? I hear Ben Roethlisberger is on the COVID list right now.
but we'll get to that.
Close exposure.
Oh, one more thing though. Patriots about Patriots Saints. Isn't it funny that everybody is just drooling over all of these Bucks receivers and put up a whole 3 points. 3 puntos.
Sorry, that was too
was
many
all
claps.
Tammy.
We'll see what happens, because I mean that's so much talent down there. But let's see if Antonio Brown is the cancer that we thought he was.
But I mean, they really haven't looked great in
their offense has not. No, their defense.
Yeah, and I mean they've snuck by some bad teams, the Giants, the Bears.
Right.
That was the Saints with the Bears, but like the Giants, like that, the Giants should have won that game. If Daniel Jones was just an average quarterback, they win that game.
All right, let's do this. Let's talk about what the NFL just agreed upon, and then we'll get into some Falcon stuff. So, as all of you know, COVID is wrecking schedules all over the place. NFL teams have had to slide left and right and be pushed to the end of the season for games, and bye weeks are in week 3. It's just been crazy. So I think the NFL is starting to realize, with COVID cases on the rise in the country again, and also COVID cases in the NFL on the rise, they're looking at the writing on the wall that the likelihood of completing all 16 games for all 16 or all 32 teams is highly unlikely. So they put in a clause an additional clause, and they have agreed upon the fact that if they do not play all 16 games, what they're going to do is expand the playoffs to 16 teams. Now, if that is the case, that opens up the opportunity for certain teams that weren't, that were on the outside looking in from quite a distance away, like your Falcons. That would actually put us, if we are moving ahead with the idea that there is going to be 16 teams in the playoff, the Falcons are only 2 games out of the playoff line. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but let's first get to the fact that also in that agreement is there was talks about it this offseason that they were going to incentivize teams for hiring black coaches and hiring black management. What they have changed it to is grooming those coaches. So if you have a coach on your staff, like a Raheem Morris, for instance, and you keep him on there but more so how Raheem Morris was brought into the league, and you kept him on your roster for a long time and kept him that way. There are incentives for that. What those incentives are, they have not explained yet, but the rumor is it's like, a draft pick will be moved, or you'll probably get like a compensatory pick, something along those lines. I can't see you jumping another team in the draft order because you have a black coach. That would not go over well.
Yeah.
That would definitely make people pick up some black coaches.
Yeah, and
Except Dallas.
Yeah, Jerry's like, we're always going to be pick 32. I'll accept it. That's my fate. But so with the shift in the playoff line and your Falcons now being 3-6 and just outside of the playoff table, let's talk about some of these teams that we were just talking about, because they are some of the teams remaining on our schedule, and actually the very next one up for us, because as your Falcons are on a bye week this week, we're going to pick up some extra rest and get ready for the Saints. And as we all know, the NFC South, it doesn't matter what your record is. These rivalry games mean something different, and like we've ruined perfect seasons. When we had 4 wins, something like that, we've ruined Super Bowl runs, playoff seedings, all that.
Season? I thought we had more than 4 wins that season.
Maybe it was like 6.
Yeah, I think it was 6-10, I believe.
We ended the game with 5. So
was that Dan Quinn's first season?
I think
no.
So. Or was it the season before?
Wait, yeah, that was Dan Quinn's first season. That was
we started 5-0 and then lost like 6 straight or whatever, or 5 straight or whatever it was.
It was not good, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But then we should have known what Dan Quinn was, so we just couldn't look that far ahead. Our crystal ball was a little hazy.
Right.
But so with the Saints coming up and the way the Falcons have been playing, and we should be healthy, do we have the opportunity to win this game and actually win the series against the Saints and the Buccaneers? Let's bunch them into the two, because those are the two front runners of our division, the Saints and the Bucs. Everyone's looking at them saying those are the teams to beat. And then there's the Falcons and the Panthers, who are both 3-6 right now. So let's start one game at a time. Do we have a chance to win this next game, Micah?
Yes. Yeah, like it's as good as the Saints looked against the Bucs. I think we play them very well. We match up. We have a lot of matchups with them. Like, we match up with a lot of their players very well. We have linebackers who can cover Kamara. The only person, like I said, the only 2 players on that team that really scare me are Kamara and Taysom Hill as a weapon. Because for some reason, whenever they run toss plays or stuff to Taysom Hill, we never can tackle them. But for the most part, those are the only 2 guys who, Michael Thomas is going to make some catches, that. But, we, for the most part, we do a good job at keeping him at bay. Our pass rush always looks better against the Saints than just about any other team in the league. So, if we can get after Breeze and hit him a few times, I truly think that we can win that game.
What do you think, Marco?
So I think that we definitely have a chance to win this game. And does anyone have offhand just like a stat about off bye weeks? Like, how do we traditionally do off bye weeks? Or,
well, with Dan Quinn, we were great off the bye week. And then last year, when we beat the Saints the first time, we were coming off of a bye week.
Okay, so I'll go with, just like I went with sort of like trends. How I said we'll be. I wouldn't be surprised if we blew up the Broncos, just because, we had recently beat them. I'd say that we do have a really good chance, because not only are we coming off a bye week, but they're going to play, a team in the Niners who they might take a disappointing loss to, or might have a tough, unexpected tough game against, just because they're so banged up. and that could fatigue them a little bit mentally, and give us an opportunity, because the lowest points we've scored is, we scored 16 twice this season. I don't see us getting only putting up 3 points ever in any game. You know what I mean? So what happened to the Bucks is not going to happen to us. So yeah, I'd say we have a really good chance of not only being competitive in this game but winning it.
I'll agree. And this is in New Orleans as well, but this doesn't hold the same home field advantage as it used to, because there's only going to be like 3,000 fans in the stands, as opposed to 90 screaming, raving Saints fans out there. So
Saints fans.
The Saints. Yeah, I think we can actually beat them. I think what we'll probably wind up doing with the Saints is splitting, just because they're a very talented team. They're extremely talented. Sean Payton, typically splits with us, and I don't think. When's the last time we've swept the Saints?
I can't remember that.
It's been a few years.
Yeah,
they've swept us before we swept them.
Yeah, they swept us the year before last, and I think the year before that. I think they swept us 2 years in a row.
Even during all their 7-9 seasons, I don't remember us sweeping them.
Yeah, I don't either. It's just it doesn't happen too often in this division. But I think we can split with them. And shifting the conversation to the other team, the Buccaneers, they don't scare me as much as they used to. Their defense is really good, and it's going to be a handful for our offensive line just because they have such big bodies up front. But their offense just doesn't have a rhythm. It's too many weapons. It's too much. It's too many mouths to feed. And I think, for as good as that can be, like, oh, look, this guy can always win a matchup here and that can win a matchup there. I think it messes with your head a little bit on, thinking, okay, now I have to get this guy the ball. Now I have to get this guy the ball. And now you can't just go and go, look, Mike Evans has the matchup this game, fellas, and we're going to feed him, because Antonio Brown's going to go, well, I'm also winning my matchup every time. And Gronk's Gronk's the exception, because Gronk, I think, is just there to go, you know what? I want another ring.
Gronk. Right.
I'll catch it 4 times and then block, whatever.
I catch football.
But then, Godwin's also trying to make a name for himself. Leonard Fournette wants the ball.
And Tom doesn't necessarily have the arm to get it to all his weapons. It's also a problem.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
He looks slower than slow now, too.
But it's like you said, though, it's a good quarterback, especially like Tom Brady. One of the biggest things, he spreads the ball around. That's one of his strongest features. But when he's had go-to receivers, you always knew in situations who was getting the ball. So, third and long, when he had Gronk and Gronk was getting the ball. Third and short, it might be Edelman on something over the middle. It was like you knew tendencies, you knew who he was going to, and just can't you stop it. Now you have 4 legitimate guys who, 3, and Gronk has lost a step, but Gronk is still, he's such a big body that he's hard to stop. You got 3 guys that you have to worry, like 3,000-yard plus receivers that you have to worry about spreading the ball to, and they all want the ball. Right. Now, granted, Mike Evans and Godwin might not be as vocal about it as maybe an AB would be, but they all want the ball. You got Leonard Fournette, who he's trying to prove that Jacksonville made a mistake by letting him go. So, you got a lot of people trying to prove themselves. You got a lot of people, like, it's too much talent, not enough footballs to go around.
Yeah.
By the way, the last time we swept the Saints was in our Super Bowl season.
So 4 years ago. Okay. All right, well, let's sweep them again, baby. Let's go.
Go.
Going to the Super Bowl. If we can sweep the Saints, man, then this talk of all these crazy fans saying,
Hey man, the freaking the Chiefs struggled against the team we just beat. Like,
Yeah.
I know McCaffrey was there, but
Yeah.
hey.
Sorry, I was
As the
muted.
train goes by, the midnight train to
But-
Georgia.
I mean,
Um,
but the Saints struggled against Chicago, and we
Should've
without
beat Chicago.
Julio, we should have put up a lot bigger numbers against them. But I mean, we put up 29 against them. So
It's such a shame. We should be 6-3 right now. It's such
we could easily be 6-3 right now.
even 7-2 if Matt Ryan doesn't throw that pick in the Carolina game where we're coming down the field. It's like,
That's the crazy thing. That's football,
mhm.
and it sucks.
Right.
All right, so let's cover Takk, and then let's get out of here because we're getting a little we're burning the midnight oil. So a wasted first round pick really is what the way we can look at this. Takk McKinley, when drafted, was supposed to be the guy who could help fix our pass rush. He had the fire behind him. He was energetic. He was, he's everything that you want like a good pass rusher to be. But also, when those pass rushers don't work out, this is kind of what you could see happen. It backfires or it explodes, and we got that part of it. So in the 4 years that we had Takk McKinley, he registered 17 and a half sacks and missed a ton of time, an absolute ton of time. And one of the most important things as a football player and in any sport is your most important attribute is your availability. And he just didn't have it. So he took to Twitter. For those of you that didn't know, he took to Twitter 2 weeks ago and had mentioned the fact that the Falcons weren't going to trade him. And people were like, what do you mean you got mentioned? I don't understand what you're talking about. And then he started to spill his side of it, or at least what he considers his side of it. Is last year the Falcons were offered a second round pick for him when he asked to be traded, and they turned it down. And then this year he has to be traded again, and teams offered what he claimed they offered a 4th and a 6th round pick for him. And he kind of got all salty and got up on his feelings. He's like, I don't know why they won't trade me. I only have 17 and a half sacks in 4 years. And it's like, yeah, you only have 17 and a half sacks in 4 years, Takk. That's why we're getting offered a 4th and a 6th. And I think what,
He said
Raheem,
6th and a 7th.
was it a 6th and a 7th?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a whole bunch of things.
then he put clown emojis just to cap it up.
Right. Essentially calling the Falcons front office clowns, which is weird to do because the guys that turned that down and did all these things are gone.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn's gone. Dimitrov's gone. So I don't know who he's mad at. Like, this is a totally new regime, new head coach, as you're seeing on the field. But I think what the Falcons were hoping for was that Raheem could kind of sell him and mend that relationship with him. And at least we could have him for the rest of the season as a pass rusher, because he was starting to get healthy again for now. So what happened was he went on a second tirade, the one including the clown emojis that Marco just mentioned, and he got fined. And then a week later, we actually cut ties with Takk McKinley. We waived him, and he is now available for any team to pick up. And the biggest problem is we lose a compensatory pick by doing that. If he would have stayed and walked in the offseason, which he 99.9% would have, we would have gotten what's called a compensatory pick, which the NFL hands out to teams when they lose, good players, like players that they spend a high draft round pick on. Like if you lose a first round pick, sometimes you'll get like a third or a second round compensatory pick, and it just makes up for that. And, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a compensatory pick. But the Falcons have done really good things with them. They've got players like Toy Lola. They've got players like, I just blanked on his name, Kamal Ishmael. They've gotten, they've done a good job with compensatory picks. And if you're a good front office, you can do that. So that sucks. You lose an asset and you lose a pick because he can't keep his mouth shut. What do you guys think about that? And what do you think that means for that roster spot for the remainder of the season, especially going into a bye week?
You want me to take it first?
Whoever wants it.
All right, I'll take it. First of all, Takk complained about us turning down a second round pick for him last year. Okay, what do you think? Why? Like, they knew that they were letting Vic Beasley walk in the offseason. So why would they trade you as one of their first round draft picks and one of the guys they expected to be the potential future of the pass rush for a second round pick when they're going to let the other pass rusher walk in free agency? Doesn't make sense. So, like, so that's probably the reason why they didn't do it last year. Now, this year, for a 6th or 7th rounder, I think the thought process is, if we don't at least get a 4th for him, we're not trading him, because if we at least can get him through the season, if we can at least get through the season, we'll get a 5th or 6th rounder compensatory pick anyway. So it's no point of trading him for anything less than a 4th rounder. But unfortunately, between his lack of availability, his lack of production, and his grade school temper tantrums, teams didn't want anything to do with them, and it wound up hurting us, and wound up having to just waive them. Like I said, and I told you guys this, and I'll tell the whole our whole listenership this as well. I hope Greg Williams takes a liking to Takk and his fire, and he signs him today. We need him to be a Jet. That's what I hope Greg Williams says. Now, as far as replacing him, I like, to be honest with you, we talked about it. We hinted to it last week. If Vic Beasley, if we can get Vic Beasley for, $1 or $2 million, and just, he knows the scheme, he's worked with Outbreaks before. If you can just bring him in, he can at least give you what Takk was giving you, probably some more, because he always, like I said, him not being focused on football had just as many sacks in one season as Takk had in his entire career.
Right.
That was the Dwight Freeney effect, though.
Bruh.
But
and having leads.
Right, yeah. Right. So I want to say that I think, first of all, 2017, that was a rough year. We get Takk, Duke Riley, Sean Harlow. Like, God damn it, Thomas. Like, what the hell? But anyway, I think this whole situation with Takk he's been a disgruntled employee since we didn't pick up his 5th-year option. And, it's been brewing, and that's why, I guess you were alluding to why, why would he mention the 2nd round pick? That's why, because he was disgruntled, and he was like, oh, if y'all don't want to pick up my option, then just trade me then. You know what I mean? But he didn't realize in the NFL, you got to sing for your supper. You have to earn, your place in the league. So we gave him an opportunity to earn, and, and he kept getting hurt because that's just what he does. So, I think I give a lot of credit to Raheem Morris, because it had to be a tough decision, because knowing that Takk is one of the few guys that you have that, has enough talent to, maybe mix it up a bit and get some sacks, and knowing that his potential future is on the line, and we need all hands on deck to get these wins. And he was still, despite the fact that he was still able to go and fire Takk, despite that, knowing that it could potentially cost him. So I think that was a big thing, a big move by him. And I love the way that he handled it in the media. He was like, he's pretty much like, like he handled it so well. He's like, I'm a grown man. I don't do social media. So we're going to go talk to him and we're going to, try to figure out why he's calling us clowns.
I love Raheem Morris.
I really do. Right. And this was the result, get him out of here. In terms of replacing him. Yeah, I do agree. Vic Beasley, would probably be the best, and I think that they can mend that fence easily now that Dan's gone. And so I think it would be good to bring him back in here and, see, what kind of pressure he can generate. And obviously he's from here, so he'd love to come back home. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Where did we pick? What pick were we when we got Takk?
26.
And then 4 picks later, TJ Watt went.
Yep.
Right. We moved up.
TJ Watt isn't a Dan Quinn style player.
Right.
We moved up to get Takk, didn't we?
No.
We didn't? Okay. We were just
I think we tried to move up to get someone else, but
okay.
I feel like we did.
That was 2017. So that was us coming off of losing to the Eagles.
The Eagles.
Yeah, that's right. 17 and a half sacks. Whereas TJ Watt right now has 41 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas DeMitchell is like, I was so shocked when they fired me. He's like, bruh, are you serious?
Bruh.
You were shocked?
Jamal Adams, a safety, has 15 and a half sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, man. Let's see. Who else are some high performers in that draft? Larry Ogunjobi has 12.
I mean, there was also a lineman we could have taken. I think the Colts take like some amazing linemen in that draft.
I think Quentin Nelson was the next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carl Lawson has 18.
A linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys in this draft that have outperformed Takk and went well after him. Trey Hendrickson.
Saints.
14.
But that scheme, they blitz a lot.
Yeah.
Health is wealth.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Takk, I wish it would have worked out for you just because that means it would have worked out for us, but this is not how you do it, man.
All right, good riddance. Like,
yeah.
Teams notice when you're a petulant child.
Come on.
Honestly.
Come on, Jets. Come on, Jets.
Or the Browns.
Put those green jorts on them.
Wish NFL death upon him.
Like, you thought the Falcons was bad. Oh yeah, go see what it's like. Go.
Right, send him to Browns or like Cincinnati or the Jets or one of these teams that nobody wants to play for.
Hey, side note before we go into our lightning round and shout outs. I know we mentioned it before, but the AMC has officially gone live with their renting movie theaters to friends and families. You can rent an entire movie theater for $99.
What?
For up to 20 people.
Wow.
That's a good
So we should do a Fish and Grits rental and go watch a movie.
Yeah.
Are there any sports movies? Does it what kind of, is it any movie or does it have to be a sport?
I think you can pick. I don't know. You probably just get to pick. And I don't know if it's just for one movie either. But $99 for 20 people, I mean, that's $5 a person.
Yeah. So what we could do the stream
in the movie theater.
The review in the
yeah,
theater.
Like, hey, can we watch this movie, please? Put on Netflix, man. That's all we really want.
We don't want to see any of the movies.
Let us run the projector. We're just gonna throw our Netflix on and watch certain movies.
Let's watch Tenet, and then we're gonna watch this.
As a matter of fact, can we just stream the Falcons game?
Hey, I'm sure we could talk to him about it. But hey, look, we watched the Cardinals and Steelers Super Bowl in a movie theater.
I always had that idea. Oh, I'm not going to put that out there. And I steal my good ideas.
Steal your ideas. And now they're millionaires.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody got any shout outs?
Oh, shout out to Flu. I'm hitting you up really soon. Holidays coming up, so I gotta hit you up and get something for my one cheat day on Thanksgiving.
Cheat day?
Does he have a Thanksgiving dish that is like special?
Bro, his smoked salmon mac is ridiculous.
That's the favorite. Mac and cheese is the favorite dish in Georgia.
Yeah.
Is that
But
what it was?
It's baked and creamy at the same time, bro.
We gotta bring him on the
Delicious.
show eventually.
Yeah, we do need to bring him on. And for those that are listening, we are going to work on getting more guests on. We had a couple of people fall through the cracks that said yes. And I've returned to work full time. So it's just been hard getting that done. I don't really have any shout outs. Shout out to us for making it 26 episodes in, for also now doing YouTube reviews as well, or YouTube game reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So we're well into our 30s on what we've done, and for something that we just went, hey, look, guys, we should do this.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start looking into adding a couple more layers to this, make our presentation a little neater, a little nicer, clean up our audio, clean up our video, probably sometime in the future. So if you want us to do better, buy our shirts. Marco's wearing it.
We're gonna do eventually
The raffle. We talked to the
IG contest, and we're gonna give away some merch to our great listeners. So stay tuned for that.
We'll do it. How about this? We'll do it when we hit 150 followers on Instagram. So spread the news, get it out there. If you get it, the sooner you get us to 150 followers on Instagram, the sooner we'll do the raffle. And help us help you.
We'll be sure to post that. At some point.
Yeah. Shout out to us. We're a man down. He may or may not come back, but if he doesn't, we'll keep a 3-man race going.
Doors always open.
Yeah. But anybody got a lightning round?
Let me think.
If you could take anyone's Xbox named Taylor, whose Xbox would you take?
Oh man. My my thoughts were actors who are not what actors that are just in bad movies, but you love to watch what they do. Like it's like a guilty pleasure you watching their movies.
Don't we already have this?
We had movies, guilty pleasure movies, but it's like just actors who just never like it's like their movies are so bad, but it's like, I can't stop, but I can't help but watch it.
I feel like the only answer is Nicolas Cage.
That's a good answer. Con Air is such a bad movie, but it's so good at the same time.
His accent is so bad in that movie. And then The Rock. The Rock is one of those good bad movies.
There are a few for me though. I got a couple. So, Steven Seagal.
I knew it.
Terrible movie selection, but they're so bad they're hilarious. It's comedy. You get a laugh. Like it was one movie he did. Had a black man with a mullet. It's like, oh man, that's then who's the other one? I thought of. Oh, Sam Jackson.
Oh yeah.
I love Samuel Jackson, but he has been in some absolute horrible movies. But I can't help but watch him just because his reactions are so funny.
The worst one by far was Black Snake Moan. That movie.
Snakes on a Plane was worse than Black Snake Moan, and that movie, Black Snake Moan wasn't good, but Snakes on a Plane, really? Like, oh my God. That's just Formula 51. Yeah, Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea. You give this big dramatic hero speech, and immediately after the shark, like, oh yeah,
That was hilarious. I just saw that like not
ate him like Pac-Man.
a little Cool J.
Boy. Ryan?
I don't know if I have one like a bad actor that I mean, any of the Broken Lizard guys, the whole crew, they're a good one to go with. I don't know. Yeah, I can say I know who my stepdad's is, and he absolutely loves him. It's Bruce Campbell.
Ash of the Dead.
Right, he loves Bruce Campbell. Yeah, I don't know if I have an actor that I just like loved. If they're on, I'll watch them. Oh, you know who's a good one? Just because they're terrible movies and it's just funny to watch. It's Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Some of his movies I'll watch, and I'm just like, this is really bad, but whatever.
You know another one though. Now that think about Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because they're not really hitting, like most of his movies aren't really good, but it's just like, all right, yeah, they're funny. That's funny.
James Franco and the other dude he makes all those movies with. They don't really
Seth Rogen?
Yeah, so Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that actually might be mine. I love Seth Rogen.
They don't make good movies, but I like watching them for some reason.
James Franco, no. I'm not a James Franco fan, but
I just mean they're always together. They always
Seth Rogen is hilarious.
And then
40-year-old virgin.
Adam Sandler is an honorable mention. The only thing with Adam Sandler is I do not enjoy watching his terrible movies these days.
His newer stuff, no. The older stuff, yes. Like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, you can watch those. But
he had a run like 4 classic movies, and then everything after that's been like, wow.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it up. Let's call it a day, call it a night, you'll never know what time we're recording if you don't watch the YouTube. So we'll call it an episode. We shall be back. We won't be doing this Sunday because obviously we're not playing. And then depending on what the sports week looks like, it may be a relatively light episode next week. So we'll see what goes on with that. But we'll definitely be back the following Sunday for the Falcons and Saints game. And then that episode as well. So we are Fish and Grits, the podcast. I'm Ryan Dollar.
Marco.
Micah.
And we shall talk to you later. Peace.
Zip it up and zip it out.